As Andy mentioned, Group of 8 finance ministers meeting this weekend in Italy. They are under mounting pressure from investors and central bankers to spell out plans to reverse record budget deficits due to fiscal stimulus programs. But is now the time to begin to discuss slowing down stimulus, or do they risk choking a recovery? Joining us now for discussion on the topic, Marco Annunziata, Chief Economist and Global Head of Economics, Fixed Income and FX Research at UniCredit Group, and Michael Mussa, former Chief Economist at the International Monetary Fund. He's now a Senior Fellow at the Peterson Institute in Washington. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Bloomberg. And Mr. Mussa, I was wondering if we might begin with you. What are the key issues that are going to be on the table this weekend at the summit?
Well, we'll certainly discuss the current economic situation. I think that they will note that the pace of global economic decline has clearly slowed since early this year, but as of yet, the signs of recovery are not really persuasive. So they will emphasize the need to continue with present stimulus plans, for the time being at least, and to deal with the issue of large government deficits once the recovery is clearly underway.
Mr. Annunziata, Mr. Mussa hinted there that some of these signs that he mentioned of recovery, they can be fleeting, and some people have actually said maybe they might be an aberration. The numbers might suggest one thing, but do the internals give you cause for concern?
I don't think the numbers, the evidence of stabilization is illusory. I think we need to have a sober assessment of the signs of stabilization and recovery, because clearly one thing is to compare data on economic activity in the second quarter of the year and compare it to the first quarter and the last quarter of last year when the economy was in free fall. It looks like a big improvement. As you start looking at Q3 data and comparing them to Q2, you see that there is not much of an improvement. So has the global economy turned the corner? Certainly yes. Is the recovery, though, still fragile and weak? It certainly is, which is why it would be premature to withdraw stimulus today. But to maintain market confidence, it is important to discuss a strategy to withdraw fiscal stimulus tomorrow, once the recovery becomes stronger.
And Mr. Mussa, is that a sentiment that you share? It's a little bit too early to withdraw the stimulus?
Certainly. I mean, we don't yet really have a clear sign that the global economy has begun to turn up. I believe we will begin to see that this summer in the U.S. and perhaps a couple of other places. But even then, you want the recovery to be clearly in forward motion for a number of months, if not at least a year, before you begin to think about seriously cutting back on the level of fiscal and monetary stimulus. You can talk about it now, but in terms of implementation, we're still many months off.
So a little bit too early to start popping the champagne corks then?
Well, I enjoy champagne virtually all the time myself, so...
Yeah, you can drink to celebrate or to forget, so we could pop it now.
Yes, or even Prosecco sometimes.
Mr. Annunziata, let's talk about the European banks. How much trouble are they in right now?
Well, as you know, there is a big disagreement on this between the IMF and European policymakers, including the European Central Bank. The ECB is challenging the IMF estimates, saying they are excessively pessimistic in forecasting big write-downs. But I think there is no doubt that European banks will be under pressure in the coming months because the recession, which is very deep in Europe, will bring an increase in non-performing loans. We are forecasting a recession of the tune of 4.5% to 5% for the Eurozone. It will bring pressure on European balance sheets.
And, sir, I'm sorry, you talk about the European Central Bank. Did German Chancellor Merkel shake things up with her comments just within the last couple of days? She had some concerns about the direction where the ECB was going.
Yeah, there is a big debate even within the European Central Bank itself, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel stepped in to give a hand to the hawks, who are mostly from the Bundesbank. She expressed a lot of concern that the moves from the ECB and also from the Fed at the Bank of England, the quantitative easing, might be sowing the seeds of inflation. But again, I think this concern is very, very premature. The economy is still in the doldrums. The output gap is widening. Core inflation is trending down. So I don't see inflation becoming a concern until well into next year. But certainly Merkel's comments created a bit of a stir.